Thank you. First, we move to resolutions from previous meetings. First, we have a resolution approving a use and bulk variance for 60 to 62 High Street concerning applicant Little Butler LLC, property block 47, lot 11. Madam Secretary, is there anyone who isn't eligible to vote? You two? Okay, so let's take roll call to approve resolution P-2025-22. That's what I was looking for a motion. Thank you. Any seconds? Sorry. Great. Madam Secretary.
Mr. Adler? Mr. Bennett? Mr. Dell? Chairman Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Parker? Vice Chairman Celsius?
Yes.
Mr. Stafford?
Yes.
Mr. Freeland?
Yes.
Mr. Kenny?
Yes.
Motion carries. Resolution P-2025-22 is approved. We move to resolution P-2025-23 concerning block 53, lot 54 at 111 High Street. Resolution approving a use in bulk variance for applicant Highlands Holdings LLC. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Madam Secretary, roll call.
Chairman Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Parker? Vice Chairman Celsius?
Yes.
Mr. Stafford?
Yes.
Mr. Freeland? Mr. Kenny?
Motion carries. Thank you. We now turn to the applications for today's meeting. Before we begin, we'd like to make a note that the application for block 84, lot 52, the property known as 30 Church Street, applicant 30 Church Street Development Group LLC. That is an application seeking a use variance relief and bulk variance relief. That application is not complete. That will be adjourned to the October 20th, 2025 meeting. If you are here to offer comments on the application for block 84, lot 52, just be advised that we will not be taking comment or hearing that application today.
Also, anybody interested in that application, you will not receive further notice or approval or publication, so, that matter will be heard at the October 20th meeting.
Thank you. With that, we turn first to the application for block 14, lot 2, 421 High Street, applicant Larry Dewey seeking bulk variance relief as to setback requirements to construct a retaining wall. Is the applicant's attorney here?
Yes, and just for Mr. Singer's reference, I did review the notice provided, and it was published on time, and it was sufficient in terms of the relief sought, so the board does have jurisdiction.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Chairman Singer, Leslie Singer, appearing on behalf of the applicant, Larry and Tamara Dewey. This is an application for a side yard variance for an accessory structure, a retaining wall, along the property known as 421 High Street, single-family home. Property is located in the R1 zone, known as Lot 2, Block 14 on the tax map of the Township of Mount Holly. I have Mr. Dewey here this evening to testify in support of the application.
Before we continue, should I call Mr. Bailey come back to the room? I see that Mr. Bailey just walked in. Yes, Madam Secretary, yes, please note that Member Bailey joined us at 6:13. Apologies for the interruption. We'll wait till Mr. Bailey reaches the.
Sorry for the interruption.
Mr. Dewey, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth before this board?
I do.
Please place fire.
Please state your name for the record.
Larry Dewey.
Are you the owner, along with your wife, Tamara, of the property known as 421 High Street?
I am.
And would you please, prior to living in your property, where did you prior?
I'm a former active duty Army. I was assigned here in August of 2019, stationed at Joint Base McGuire Dix for 2 years. It was initially only intended to be a 2-year assignment, but my wife and I decided to retire in the area and buy a home here in Mount Holly. We bought the house in September of 2021.
And what do you presently do?
Now, I've retired from the Army after 30 years of service and now work for FEMA as an operations section chief on an incident management assistance team.
What does that mean?
It means the team that I'm on is a 13-member team. Each region has one of these teams that deploys nationally. We're a national asset. We deploy following disasters. We had 6 disasters we deployed to in the last 12 months, and we're constantly on standby for disaster deployment.
Okay. And what are you trying to do? What are you trying to request the board to give you this evening?
Mr. Singer, could you try to speak, I know you're trying to share, but if you, when one talks, can you speak into it a little better? Thanks, sorry.
So in August of 2021, right before we bought the house, we had a housing inspection report completed. The inspection company noted several deficiencies in terms of structural degradation of a retaining wall on the east side of the driveway, the absence of a retaining wall on the west side of the driveway, which had deteriorated and failed over time, and is no longer existent except for some construction timbers that were buried in the dirt, and the structural failure of the driveway itself. The asphalt had deteriorated to the point it was no longer usable, and recommended those be replaced as an urgent matter. Since then, every time we had heavy rain, further erosion, soil erosion occurred into the driveway, causing it to further narrow and become difficult for us to back out of and get into, especially during nighttime or rainy days. And we've had 2 vehicles damaged as a result of that, because with the narrow driveway, it scraped against the retaining wall and caused body damage, both my wife's car and my son's car. So we're just looking to repair the driveway, regain some of the width of the driveway, and replace the failed or missing retaining walls.
And when did you start in this process?
So 3.5 years ago, I emailed the town clerk with a request for a off-street parking permit, because I thought that was the only thing that was required, was to build or expand the driveway. I sent 3 emails between May and June of 2022. All 3 of the emails were not answered. I got no phone call. So I visited the township in person, or the office in person, to try to request a status on my request. And they told me that the person who handles the request was on extended convalescent leave. And I asked, so in her absence, who would handle those requests, and they said that nobody would.
And since then, have you built partial retaining wall on the western side of the driveway?
Yeah, so first, when I wasn't getting any traction on my request to get addressed, I just returned to other landscaping projects in my yard, which is about 220 linear feet of retaining wall to create a patio, and the east side of the driveway, all of which are under 4 feet and don't require permits to build. So I buried myself in time constructing those, knowing that I wasn't getting traction on building the retaining wall that was needed to build to expand the driveway itself. In the last 6 months or so, not knowing when I was ever going to get the permit request addressed, I built the existing retaining wall without the permit, just to address the continued erosion. It was the only way to mitigate the continued erosion into the driveway and the reduction of my driveway space.
And the variance that you're seeking this evening is for a 3-foot side yard versus a 5-yard side yard that's required, or 5-foot side yard that's required, correct?
So the initial request said the retaining wall would be within 3 feet of the property line, because of a verbal agreement I had with my next door neighbor, Linda Sykes, who's here today. We had a verbal agreement to build it no less than 3 feet from the property line. Once I actually laid out where the wall would lie in relation to the property, it is 4 feet from the property line at the top of the driveway, 5.5 feet from the survey stake at the bottom of the driveway. And the reason why it's 4 feet at the top of the driveway was the wall that I just built It lines up with the pre-existing non-conforming retaining wall that was built back in the 1960s or 70s.
And have you prepared for the board a narrative of the events leading up to this evening?
Yes, these files have a description of what my wife and I are requesting, a description of the property, pictures of the pre-existing driveway with the failing wall and failed driveway, the absence of a retaining wall on the west side, and all of the, it addresses all of the concerns from the township's engineer.
Would you like to present this as Exhibit A or to the board?
I'd like to also add that there's three primary concerns that were relayed to us from the engineers. And the one is regarding the height of the wall. The wall that we recently built is going to be under 4 feet when completed. I did not complete the wall because I didn't want to give the perception of indifference to the board in the process to obtain a variance. But I did want to control the erosion. So I haven't completed the wall, I haven't completed the driveway out of patience and acceptance for the process. The wall as it stands right now is only above 4 feet in certain places because I don't have a base and I don't have asphalt. Once the contractor comes in and lays a base and lays asphalt, it's gonna be under 4 feet in height at every point along the driveway. If by chance there's some point in the driveway where it's slightly above 5 feet, all I have to do is remove a couple of construction blocks from the top course to bring it back, because the driveway is a fairly steep grade. So what the engineers are counting is they're counting a course of block that is subsurface, it's buried, but it eventually reveals itself as the driveway declines, it gets closer towards the street. So the height of the wall should not be an issue because it will be under 4 feet when completed. He also addresses the standoff from the property line, which I've already talked about, is 4 feet because it matches up with the pre-existing non-conforming wall. And at the bottom of the driveway, it's 5.5 feet, which is above what's allowed with a variance. And finally, he addresses the issue of drainage or runoff. The amount of additional runoff from the expansion or the width of the driveway is marginal, but it's also mitigated by the fact that I am including a trench drain at the top of the driveway. We have a pre-existing 4-inch drain that collects water from the top of the driveway. That's going to be widened to a trench drain that'll collect more of the water and prevent more runoff from coming down the driveway.
Are you changing the grade of the driveway in any manner?
No, the grade of the driveway is not going to change. It's just going to be level, evened out, east to west, left to right, and then brought down to a steady, consistent grade. It's not going to change the grade of the driveway as it stands.
Is there any excavation being performed in the driveway other than the footings for the wall?
No,
Is there any removal of soil from the property?
just the removal of soil to dig the footings.
Is there any clearing of site, of your site at all?
No, the engineer did ask for an explanation of the removal of trees. But as I read it, the township ordinance allows for the removal of up to 2 trees over 12 inches per year. I've only removed 1 tree over 12 inches,
And that was
3.5 years ago.
3.5 years. Are you placing any fill on your property?
I'm backfilling for drainage purposes and to reduce hydrostatic pressure on the wall. I've added 2 layers of drainage pipe and it's a 3/4 clean gravel that allows drainage to prevent hydrostatic pressure from preventing the wall from failing. Other than the backfill of the wall, I'm not adding any additional material.
Are you changing the apron at the end of the driveway?
In fact, the location of the wall as it stands now at 5 feet 5 inches from the survey stake at the bottom of the driveway. The reason it's there is because it matches up with the existing apron. I don't have to replace the apron or get an additional permit from the county.
And you mentioned that the driveway is rather steep as the photos depict, correct?
Correct.
Any other questions on this, any members of the board, any questions?
So understanding the process, you agreed to obtain all required permits and approvals for the work that you'll perform, if approved?
Yeah, if we have to go through construction and provide that, yes, we will.
And is it fair to say that you're requesting this under either what we would call a hardship variance because of the topography of the site?
The C1 variance for the unique situation that we're presenting.
Right, and possibly also C2 flexible planning because promoting better drainage and it's a nice appearance of the wall is a good planning alternative which promotes better aesthetic appearance of the wall and the property, is that fair to say?
The wall and the driveway itself. The driveway looks horrendous, as you can tell from the picture. It's half dirt, half broken asphalt. It's not very functional, and in reality, when it does rain heavily, I still get a lot of sand washing down into the street I'm trying to prevent.
But this will enable you to improve the appearance. of the wall.
Absolutely. It's gonna look beautiful when it's done.
I do have a question. I'm the neighbor. Have
You'll
you
get a
finished?
chance.
Okay.
Ma'am, we will take public comment later on.
All right.
Are there any questions or comments from board or board professionals at this time?
You wanna start, or you want me to start? So, yeah, I mean, I don't wanna be, I'm not trying to be contentious with you, I'm just kind of doing my job here. So, are you widening the driveway?
It is widened effectively because I put in the new retaining wall.
So you mentioned that you tried to apply for an off-street parking permit, but didn't get anywhere with it. Will you be reapplying for that?
If I'm required to, but I thought this variance would effectively have already approved that. Because by getting this variance, you're approving me to widen the driveway, are you not?
I don't see them as the same.
Yeah, they're two separate things. I think you're requiring a site.
So, I mean, they've asked for a site plan waiver, so the question is, does the board want to grant to them? A lot of this, because I reached out to the code, the building official in town, and he's gonna review it. So I don't need to review it if he's gonna review it. But what I think I said in the letter is that, condition of approval would be that you would submit to him and then send copies to our office as, compliance to, show that it has been done. He's gonna look, you're gonna need a permit for building the wall. Now, if it's under 4 feet, you don't need an engineer to design it. If it's over 4 feet, then you do.
If the wall is under 4 feet?
Yeah,
The wall is and will be under 4 feet.
yeah, but that's the total height of the wall.
It's all like,
As far as the drainage, yeah, I mean, I agree it's gonna be de minimis amount of water and you're gonna change it, but I think I said in the letter, it's going to the county road, right? So now you're gonna, instead of having more of it sheet flow down the driveway, it's gonna go into your trench drain and then flow out the existing pipe, right? So potentially more flow coming through the pipe, if it can handle it, county's gonna approve it, you gotta get county approval, that's all,
so the existing 4-inch pipe at the top of the driveway,
Yeah.
all the asphalt is sloped towards that pipe, obviously, that's why it's there.
Yeah.
The problem is it's a 4-inch pipe with a screen on top, and it gets clogged relatively easy because it's only this big, so every time there's debris or whatever, it just clogs that pipe. By expanding it, installing a trench drain, it makes that pipe not clogged because now it's 8 feet wide instead of 4 inches big. So then the volume of water is gonna change from the top of the driveway. The only thing that changes is the water shed off the driveway itself, the slope at the bottom of the
But
driveway.
the trench drain's connected to a pipe that goes through the curb, correct?
Correct.
So now, in possibility that you're gonna collect more into the trench drain because it's bigger than the 4-inch pipe. So more water's gonna flow into that pipe than previously. Instead of running down the driveway, it's gonna go into your trench drain and out the pipe. Just, I mean, it's not gonna be a lot, but it's just something that the county's gonna want to know.
Yeah, we understand that.
Yeah.
We'll submit to the county for
Yeah.
approval.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, as long as this.
I've been waiting 3.5
As long as
years.
everything gets, reviewed by the code official, you submit, I think you still should submit the driveway permit, application. Then, I don't, because the code official's gonna look at the grading too. I mean, so And that, to me, was a concern without talking to him. You know, I can't just, you know, the board, and as the representative to the board, I shouldn't say to the board, okay, yeah, just put a wall in and grade it like you want to. You gotta, I mean, typically you get a plan for that, right?
We understand that we have to submit to code,
Yeah.
to the code official. This is the first step, we need to get
Yeah.
variance and then we can submit.
Yeah.
No, that's the only thing, you submitted justification for the C1 or C2 variance that granted, so you said it's 4.5 feet?
What's that?
The wall is 4.5?
The wall, so the wall is 6 courses high. So 6 courses high at 8 inches per course is 48 inches.
No, I'm talking about the offset from the property line.
Oh,
That's what the
yeah,
wall
yeah,
is.
I'm sorry, if I go with the height of the wall. The offset at the top of the driveway is 47.5 inches from the property line.
Okay.
That's where the pre-existing non-conforming wall is. If I try to make it 5 feet to be more compliant, it's gonna look really weird that the
Yeah.
2 walls don't line up.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm tied to what's already there. The bottom of the driveway is more flexible, and I kept it 5 feet 5 inches from the survey state, just because that lines up with the left side of my apron.
I just want to make sure we got the distance right, so
Yes, sir.
37 inches.
The applicant seeking a site plan waiver,
Yeah.
you can make a residential property get a site plan? Okay. Alright, so they're asking for a site plan waiver and the board's professionals, given the other items that you've noted, do you support that?
Yeah. Those gonna go to the code. The code officials.
Right, I've got that.
Are there any other questions or comments from the board before we open it up to public comment?
I only have a comment because of the neighbor. Can you explain how that affects the neighbor's property?
You want me to
You
explain?
wanna take,
Or
you wanna take comments from the
You want to
public?
explain?
No, I just wanna make sure it's not in.
You ask Mr. Dewey, or then we wait
Well, I
for
did ask
public
Mr.
hearing?
Dewey. I said, is that affecting the neighbor's property?
So I've had several conversations with Ms. Sykes, who's gonna make her own statement later. We've had several verbal agreements, which I've tried to capture in writing to make sure I'm complying with all of her requests, to make it not just the proper amount of standoff from the property line, but also make it decorative behind the wall, between the wall and where the property line lies. I think we've had a great conversation several times about how it's going to look to her. I think she'll be happy with that. I'll let her speak on her own behalf. And in terms of structural wise, it's gonna make the property line better, which affects my property and her property both.
Anything else from the board's professionals before we open this to public comment? I see nothing. We will now open the floor to public comment. Anybody who wishes to comment on this application, please approach the podium. When you get to the podium, please state your name and address for the record.
Okay. I'm Linda Sykes. I'm the adjacent neighbor at 423 High Street.
I'm sorry,
Linda Sykes at 423 High Street.
do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and
Swear
nothing
to
but
tell the truth, whole truth. So Larry's doing a fantastic job. I mean, you know, the aesthetics of it is beautiful on his side, which I had no doubt about that. I was a little concerned about the width of the driveway, the expansion of the width of the driveway. Because for 30-some years, I've lived with the driveway the way it is. And so this expansion was pretty large. I mean, it goes way over, more than what I expected. So I was shocked by that. Now, he mentioned that I agreed to the 3 foot from the property line. And I don't remember saying, yes, 3 feet is fine. As a matter of fact, I wanted him to get the permission from the board for a variance to do anything less than 5 feet. But when we talked about it and he showed me what he was doing, I felt that 3 feet was a little bit too much in my face as far as the law was concerned. And then when the way it turned out, what he's done already is about 4 feet, a little maybe
4 feet at the top,
or
5 feet.
something like that. And I'm okay with that. It looks good, I'm okay. But I must say that I wish he had gotten approval in advance, because I was concerned about how it would affect my property, which is on a slope, and if the integrity of my property would be affected, my slope, with the runoff. So, I didn't get an engineer, but a community sort of construction guy and a neighbor had mentioned to me, and Larry and I have discussed this about drainage. How is it gonna affect my side of the property? The drainage issue, and that's still a concern of mine. I know he mentioned he's doing a French drain, and I guess that would be underground sort of below ground gravity drain. Is that the same thing?
Sort of, yes.
So my buddy suggested that on my side to prevent any sort of runoff on my side of the property, other side of the wall on my side. So that's what I'm concerned about at this point, is the drainage, having the proper drainage on my side, being the underground, below ground, gravity French drain. But otherwise, like I said, I was hoping that he would have received the variance at first, because it is very wide, and I was concerned about my property, because my property is very old, and I didn't want a mudslide to affect my side, you know, with this massive wall, which is 4 feet, a little around 4 feet. But it works for just the way it looks. It works. It had to be exactly the same as the other side of the wall. And, you know, for aesthetics, it looks good. It really does look good. So that's basically it. I just want to make sure that if there's going to be an engineering report, that is done, and that I get a copy of it, and that everything, you know, passes the test for safety reasons, aesthetics, and so forth. Now, we've been talking about putting some hardscape that will connect his side to my side, to his, which is partially his side, which are some steps and whatnot. But I think we can come to some sort of agreement on our own with that, because I like what he likes so far, so I don't think that's gonna be a problem. So that's basically it. Okay,
Thank you, Ms. Sykes.
thank you very much.
Is there anyone else from the public who would like to comment on this application?
Yes.
When you get to the podium, please say your name and address for the record.
Maureen Chief, 440 High Street. I live,
What's your name?
shall I say it again?
Please.
Maureen Chief, 440 High Street.
Do you
I
swear
live-
or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth
I
before the board?
do. I live directly across the street from Linda and Larry. And at the moment, it really is an eyesore. And it's been this way for quite a while. It's not their problem. I mean, it's going through the process of the township. And I feel that things should be sort of moved along. I don't see why it should take so long to make all these decisions. Larry and his wife, they've improved their property extremely well since they've been living there. I can really see why they want to widen their driveway, and with Linda's cooperation, it seems to be going that way. Prior to the driveway being widened, Linda's property was always natural. It was never cultivated, so it was always a natural growth there. And I feel that they should, as they've said, would like to work it out between the two of them. The drainage issue doesn't seem to be a huge problem. And if you live on High Street, when it rains, the drains cannot handle, you know, the rain as it is. So I don't see where, you know, with him widening it, it's going to be a real issue with the drainage. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Perenchie. Is there any other member of the public who would like to offer comment on this application? Seeing none, we will close the floor to public comment on this application.
I'm gonna say something. Well, so you mentioned the site plan waiver, right? So the checklist, which they ask for a waiver for, is for submitting a plot plan or architectural plan as necessary to show the type, magnitude, and extent of the requested relief and the impacts on the surrounding neighborhood. So if I don't get a plan with grading on it, I don't know what the drainage impacts are to the neighboring property. So, as I said, if the code official reviews that and the board's comfortable with that, I don't need a plan. But the board has to make that decision as to who's gonna review it, because somebody should.
Do we know if the grade has changed over all these years since the house was built? Mr. Dewey, can you comment, or your counsel?
You're asking if the grade has changed?
Yeah.
That, the pre-existing wall was built in the sixties. The asphalt,
The actual grade of
it hasn't changed. That asphalt's been there forever. That's why it's all cracked and degraded. So there's nothing changed in decades.
That might be a good question to ask this site, because you said you lived there 37
No,
years as a
we've
neighbor.
not-
so-
no,
Yeah.
closed public comment, so it's up to the applicant to address the issues.
I mean, short of doing carbon dating on the existing asphalt, I don't know how to tell how old it is, but it's pretty
No,
old.
the only reason I ask that is, it doesn't look to me, but I'm not the engineer, that it's not gonna change, and the house has been there, but it seems to me it's already done deal. We can't-
So what I'm talking about is the grade behind the wall that would impact the neighbor's property.
Gotcha.
That, also the grade behind the wall is unchanged. There are, behind the wall, when I had it dug out to put the footing in, there's anywhere between 6 inches and 1.5 feet of space for me to put in, loose fill gravel, so drainage rock. Two rows, just for safety and security, I don't have to rebuild this wall 10 years from now. There's 2 rows of drainage pipe, both filled with gravel and geotextile material to prevent clogging. So it's all wrapped, just, I mean, you look at any professional construction person that would say that's how you do drainage behind a retaining wall. Typically for walls that are over 4 feet, but this is under 4 feet, so I don't think drainage is not gonna be a problem, because the ground slopes all towards the street anyway. So it's got good runoff towards the street as it is. This just provides 2 more layers of protection. If anything, there'll be less erosion from the neighbor's property, not more.
So I guess that was my point, because I'll ask them. So looking at the pictures that you submitted, and I can only go by that, it appears that the neighbor's property is still higher than yours.
Correct.
So any runoff would really come to your property still.
It can't now, because most of it's gonna go towards
Right,
the
but it would
street.
hit your retaining area.
Yeah, the natural slope is
Goes-
towards the
goes to
street.
High Street.
What portions come towards my wall are gonna fall into those 2 layers of drainage tile, drainage rock, and still go towards the street. Now it just doesn't come into my driveway and wash more dirt into my driveway.
No, correct, and that's my point, is that it seems his property is still higher. I mean, the neighbor's property is still higher for the runoff.
Mr. Chairman, our request is for the board to grant a side yard variance for an accessory structure, where 5 feet is required, and at some points it's 3 feet. I'm sorry, 4 feet, and then there's a request for such a waiver. We understand that all outside agencies still have jurisdiction, and we have to satisfy this condition.
Can you repeat that? I didn't hear that. I heard you.
We understand that we have to apply for and receive outside agency approval for any other agency that has jurisdiction over this project.
I see. All right, thank you.
Understood. Are there any other conditions that we should note in terms of moving for approval? Or is there someone who?
Let me just
Yeah.
do the summary as we usually do, is, this is an application, as Mr. Singer noted, for bulk variance, side yard setback for the accessory structure of retaining wall. To allow 3 feet at the closest point.
4 feet now.
No, it's 4 feet, okay. I'm sorry, you said that at the very beginning. 4 feet, where at the very beginning, where 5 feet is required, and based upon certain conditions, which I'll outline, for a waiver of the requirement to submit a formal site plan. He has obtained county approval with respect to, I guess, the roadway and the drain apron. He needs a driveway permit to make sure the grading is correct. The code official will review. He's agreed to make the improvements to the driveway apron, which will improve its appearance. The height of the wall will be limited to 4 feet. If it appears to approach higher than that, he's indicated that he can and he will make modifications to the, I guess, the stone retaining wall to meet the 4-foot limit. It will not change the grade of the driveway, it's only going to be leveled. He's indicated that no excavation is proposed, no soil is to be removed. He's testified that no trees will be removed by this project. He did parenthetically note that a few years ago he did remove 1 tree. So he's agreed to obtain all required permits, pass on required inspections to the extent that it's deemed an improvement. It may affect your property taxes. He's agreed to pay, and he would agree to pay all fees and the escrows of the professionals for this matter. He's presented testimony that he's had drainage issues, that he seeks to install a French drain and system to prevent the driveway from further degrading, and did describe the means which it's sort of eroded over the course of the years. Mr. Kalani has indicated, and I think the testimony as presented indicates that it's a hardship situation based upon the unique topography of the property. He's agreed to work with and has worked with his neighbor relative to certain aspects of the design close to her property. So based upon the testimony as presented and the conditions as summarized, is there a motion to find that he's met the standard for bulk variance relief based upon the conditions as stated, either under the hardship or the C2 flexible C standard? Is there a motion, Mr. Kennedy?
Ms. Carney, I may, before the board proceeds, there are no improvements contemplated for the apron. The apron is structurally.
Okay, I will strike that.
I hear a motion in a second. Gina, please take a roll call on the vote.
Chairperson Leonard Klein,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Nicole Saltier,
Yes.
Christopher Banks,
Yes.
Mr. Taka,
Yes.
Scott Bailey,
Yes.
Stephen Sanford,
Yes.
Anthony Furlong,
Yes.
and Paul Kennedy.
Thank you very much.
Carries, thank you. That concludes our discussion of the application for Block 14, Lot 2, property known as 421 High Street. If you are here to offer comment or watch comments on that application, you are free to leave. But as we make that transition, we will move now to the next application on the agenda, which is an application for preliminary and final major site plan approval. Absolutely.
Just, Mr. Singer, before you leave, can you just make sure we email the exhibit package that we included, that you handed out, to email to the board secretary? It was marked as A1, I believe. Okay, that's right.
That's correct.
Thank you. All right, and now we move to the next application. I mentioned preliminary and final major site plan approval, major subdivision approval, and bulk variances for applicant Virtua Memorial Hospital, Burlington Co. Inc. There's a lot of block and lot numbers, so I will decline to read them all. But with that in mind, is the attorney.
I did review the notice provided by the applicant. It was timely and sufficient as far as the specificity of the relief requested, so the board does not have jurisdiction for the application.
Mr. Baranowski.
Thank you, Counselor. Good evening, Mr. Klein. Good evening, everybody. It's nice to see you all. My name is Robert Baranowski. I'm with the law firm of Heinlein, Levin, Shapiro, and Marlton. We represent the applicant Virtua Memorial Hospital in connection with this matter. If the board would indulge me, I'll give you a very brief overview of the application, and I'll give you the roster of who will be testifying this evening. We can get them sworn in, and then we'll get underway with more detailed testimony from our project team, who are the experts here, to tell you everything you need to know about the project, hopefully. And we are seeking your approval this evening for preliminary and final site plan, as Chairman Klein indicated, along with the subdivision, which essentially involves lot consolidation of the many block and lot numbers as referenced. There are also some vacated street areas within the project area, and you'll hear about those as well. So just by way of a very generic overview, this is a proposed 137,000 square foot, 4-story addition on the east side of the main hospital along Madison. And that proposed building would house 64 new private inpatient beds, and that facilitates the movement for all the patient rooms in the hospital to go toward private from semi-private. And so there would be no added beds involved in adding the 64 rooms. Those would be transitioning beds over from the other building. We did mention in the application at a future date, we do anticipate seeking approval from the state to add 22 new beds. That's later on down the road. There would also be 10 new operating rooms within the new building, and that would add capabilities that would allow utilization of new surgical technologies, such as having robotic equipment in those rooms. So that would really enhance the ability to provide those services. Overall, I think you'll find, and I think you would agree, this is really a transformative project for the community. It's a major investment in the community, and it's a major commitment to the facilities and improvement of those facilities in Mount Holly. It also involves improvements to the pedestrian and vehicular circulation around the campus and enhanced parking areas. And overall, I think you'll see and hear from the testimony and the exhibits we will be presenting that there will be a substantial enhancement of the services available in the facilities, the modernization of the facilities, both inside and outside, and as well as aesthetic improvements. So the project is within the newly created Health and Life Sciences District, so it's a permitted use, and there are some, I think I would characterize them as minor bulk variance and design waiver requests associated with that we will address. So, the hospital address, as you're aware, the main address is 175 Madison. There's an additional property that it was included within the application because it would be utilized in connection with the construction activities, and that's 27 Cedar. And you'll hear from the testimony that there's nothing proposed to be developed permanently at that site at this time. It's really an area that will be able to accommodate parking and a logistics area for the construction personnel. So it's no building there, temporary facilities, temporary trailers, office spaces, and we'll give you some more information on that as well. We do have comment letters from your professionals on the application, and we'll provide testimony that was requested through those letters. We have your planner's letter from ERI that's dated September 3rd, 2025, and we have the engineering review letter from Alimo Engineering that's dated September 12th, 2025. We did have the opportunity to prepare and submit a response from our engineer, Taylor Wiseman Taylor, to the planning letter that was dated September 12th, and that was submitted. And then as far as the Alimo letter, our professionals have had the opportunity to have a conversation about that letter, and I believe they could talk about that, and we'll give some testimony as requested in that letter. I think you'll find in general, we are amenable to the comments and making sure that they're addressed to the satisfaction of the professionals. There are a few details that we'll elaborate on with respect to certain comments, and some nuance that we'll present through the testimony as it will be called for. So our witnesses for this evening to testify in support of the application. We have Ms. Julie Herb, who is a CRE, that's a Counselor of Real Estate designation. She is a Vice President of Facilities Development with Virtua, and she will give a project overview. We have Mr. Vlad Holdomasov. He is a professional engineer with Taylor Wiseman Taylor, and he'll review the site plan with the board as well as discuss the design waivers and the bulk variance requests. We have Mr. David Shropshire, who is he's a PE, he's also a professional planner. He will review traffic and parking, his reports with the board. We have Mr. Anthony Cortez, who's a senior landscape architect with HDR. He will discuss landscape and lighting issues with the board and go through those details. And then we'll have Mr. Matthew Peters, who is a senior project architect, also at HDR. He will review the architectural plans with the board. And we have, last but not least, Mr. Steve Malloy, who is a project executive with Turner Construction. I know there has been some questions raised about construction timelines and procedures and impacts, and we'd like to make sure everyone has that information as well as to how that will work over the ensuing time. So he will discuss the construction management details with the board. And just to advise you of who else is here, we do have Mr. John Kirby, who's the president of Virtual Memorial and Willingboro Hospitals. We have Ms. Shannon Stillwell, who's the vice president and chief nursing officer with Virtua, along with others from our project team, medical professionals with the hospital, and our other project team members from Aegis. So that whole group here. And if you prefer, Mr. Chairman and Councilor, I could bring people forward to be sworn in as a group, or just have people sworn in one by one as they testify and look at their qualifications.
So I think for a project of this magnitude, we're going to go through a completeness review first. So the board
Certainly.
will take comments from, I don't know if you want to address the items that you saw first and we'll take your testimony, or you did respond to the planner's report, but I think the engineer's report. You want to address those first?
If you like, I think I saw a number of them that were recommended to be conditions of approval. As to any open submission waivers, if you'd like testimony on that, we could do that and provide specific testimony on the submission waivers.
I think that might work. Mr. Lionel, if they addressed your comments and your concerns about submission waivers, that.
Well, I mean, just scanning through it just quickly, I mean, every one of them says has a condition of approval.
Right, that's what I thought, most of them were.
Every one.
Okay, so with the idea that all of those submission waivers would be submitted as a condition of site plan approval, you would recommend deeming it complete?
Yes.
Okay, and Mr. Kalani, you didn't have any completeness issues, did you? Okay, so we've short-circuited that discussion, and so is there a motion by the board to, based upon the recommendation that the items as identified in Mr. Lionel's record, letter be deemed conditions of approval? Is there a motion to deem the matter complete?
So moved.
Is there a second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, you can call your first witness.
Okay, so we'll just take witnesses one by one, and we'll swear them in individually, have them give credentials as they go forward. So first of all, I'm Ms. Julie Herb, and while Ms. Herb is giving you her professional criteria, I will hand out a slide deck that was prepared, which basically incorporates all the different boards that you have before you here this evening. It will be visible to the public, but we thought it might be helpful for the board to have a package of all the different plans available to you for closer look. Councilor, we can mark that A1. It's 15 pages, including the cover. One thing that's included in the package that is not on a board, it's the last page, is provides some detail on the status of applications for development and outside agency approvals. So that's also just for reference.
Thank you, Mr. Bernasco. Sorry.
Ms. Herb, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth before this board?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barrett. And thank you to Mount Hollis Planning Board. Very happy to be here this evening. As Vice President of Facilities Development for our organization, I oversee all construction and real estate for the entirety of the healthcare system. A few years ago, we embarked upon an overall care transformation project amongst all of our facilities, really understanding holistically what this was going to look like for us as a whole at Virtua. What we had identified at Mount Holly was that we had other opportunities to really further enhance our care and the care they're providing here in the community and surrounding communities around Mount Holly. We're going to walk you through the pages that you have here, which are also duplicated on these boards that are being placed up for view at this time. The first slide that you're seeing in the packet that Mr. Baranowski had just handed out is an overall view looking southward from the Madison Avenue direction at the new building that you'll see there, basically right to the left of that aerial that you're seeing. The existing facility will be to the south of this new building. This building will be expanded northeastward on the overall property. In the second page, what you're seeing there are some exterior renderings. We have provided renderings from different aspects of approach on the facility, from each direction, from the east side, from the west side, and from the southeast side of the property. As Mr. Baranowski had indicated, this will be a 4-level building. We will house 10 new ORs, inclusive of 1 hybrid OR in this building on that first level. So it will be an entire new surgery suite, replacing the existing that we have in the facility today. On level 2 and level 3, each will have private med-surg beds, 32 beds each. They will all be private, and as Mr. Baranowski had indicated, this is the first step in being able to convert the remainder of the hospital to private rooms. If we've learned anything over the past years with pandemic and so forth, as well as competition in the space, folks want private rooms when they come to the hospital. So that is really our intent with this project, is really to enhance that care and the patient experience at this facility. On the 4th level, which you can also see, HDR has done a wonderful job of screening that equipment, that it looks like part of the building. The level 4 will be mechanical equipment on that roof of the new building. That mechanical equipment will serve that building only. And as Mr. Baranowski indicated, which you'll see in the coming slides in your packet there, that we do have other enhancements in and around the campus to further improve the overall exterior of the campus. The next slide that you have are interior renderings of what this new building will look like. We will not be rerouting traffic from our main entrance. Our main entrance of today will be the same main entrance going forward. We will have enhancements at that entrance from landscaping and so forth that you'll see in these renderings. But the new building will just be to the northeast, and it will not have its own lobby in the sense of patient entry or visitor entry into that lobby. This is really an expansion of the existing facility, and the main lobby will stay intact. So what you're seeing in these renderings on the upper left is you're seeing the lobby area as you traverse into that building, and then go to the elevators to go further into the building to those patient rooms, as well as the patient room itself and a corridor that you see a nurse's station and a charting station outside a patient room. And as you noted there, it's a very nice rendering of a private patient room. The next slide that you have there, although it is a little bigger on your side since we printed on a larger paper for you, that's really the overall footprint of the building. And we will have a connector on the upper levels to connect it to the rest of the facility. And that will be on the northeast side of the entirety of the property, where that connector will join the existing facility. We also provided here our existing site overview, which we have on the board here, as well as in your packet on that next page. That gives you an overall view of the existing campus that is to the east of Madison Avenue, as well as some of the land that we own south of South Avenue, that we had recently demolished some homes that were not in the best condition, and we decided it was prudent to have open green space there in those particular areas and not have houses that were not in the best condition. On the west side of Madison Avenue, that is our surgery center that is part of our hospital license at this juncture. It is an outpatient surgery center and parking. And then to the north of that is the 27 Cedar property that we purchased a few years back, just because of the proximity to the existing campus. And then to the far west of Madison Avenue there, you see the satellite parking lot, which will certainly, that's part of our overall parking count at the facility. We do run shuttle services. I know there was a question relative to that at one juncture through our letters from our professional review. We do run shuttle service at that into that lot from 5:30 a.m. to 9 p.m. They are all surrounded our shifts at the hospital as far as the folks that work at the hospital. So we do have regular shuttle service throughout the campus. On the next slide, which we also have in larger view on our boards here on easels, is the overall proposed footprint for the future of this expansion. As I mentioned, to the northeast, you also see the northeast area with the stormwater area and the nice open green space that we're creating there, as well as the loop road going around the campus, really creating a really nice green space as well as good circulation in and around the campus there that we're very excited about. Moving forward, we provided a number of renderings here for you as well, just to kind of give you an overview of what this would look like. The main entrance that you see here from an looking east view, that is what the main entrance looks like today, and as I mentioned, it will be further enhanced to really have a better presence as you approach it. As I was before you a number of months ago for some of our signage as a first step in enhancing that entrance to give it a real presence as we have patients and visitors come to the facility. Moving on the north view is from South and Greenwood Avenue. You'll see there in kind of like a white dotted line, that's where the proposed building would be located. So we'll give you a view of that from that direction. Certainly in the parking areas where we've already submitted, we are planning some further enhancements to some of those parking areas, as our overall plan in enhancing the property. On the next page, you will see the hospital, the southeast view. It's more of a street level view than the aerial that's provided on board here to my right. That gives you a view of what it would look like from the Cedar and Madison intersection, looking southeast. Moving on through the other renderings we have, again, another view from Lois Lane and Jefferson Avenue. It's a westerly view looking about northwest, about that, looking west toward the hospital and toward Madison Avenue. Again, indicated in the dotted line, in the dotted white line, is the proposed new building, and just to give you a view of where that would be situated on the site from that view. We do plan in that particular area, as you see there, is to plant some trees there based on some feedback that we received from some of our neighbors in that area. We wanted to further enhance that area and make it look a lot nicer than it does today. And then moving on to 27 Cedar, as we had demolished this property, not in good condition. We did purchase it a number of years ago, a few years ago, and this is a perception view for you to see as far as where that would be located with our laydown space and construction trailers on that site. Further enhanced by some landscaping around it, recognizing that we're in our neighborhood and we do have neighbors near us. We want to be respectful of that. And then it shows you the Greenwood connection across Madison Avenue as to where Cedar would connect in that particular area on Madison Avenue. Another northwest view, we thought it prudent to share these with the board this evening. recognizing that we do have neighbors here, the way we've, I think we've been very thoughtful in how we're gonna position these trailers so that they are not causing any angst should not cause any angst to our neighbors. We wanted it to look very nice from the outside, even though it is a temporary situation. So this is a northwest view of 27 Cedar. When we have this area here where we'll have construction folks officing in that particular property and some parking behind it, as well as on the next slide, a different view straight on north, recognizing that to the east of 27 Cedar, we have a neighbor immediately next to us, a residential neighbor. So we've proposed to put some landscaping there, and we really want to make it, look like it's more of a permanent structure when it's really not, so that it's not really offensive to any of our neighbors on that side. That is our intent. And finally, we did include an application and schedule list for you so that you could see where our status is with all of our submissions that are required with this size of project, all inclusive of any DEP submissions, Burlington County, any of the MUA, any of the utilities, as well as our DOH and DCA applications. We do anticipate that we would start construction in early 2027. We have a number of enabling activities that need to happen after we go through all the processes of the applications. There's a lot of site work that needs to occur there, relocation of utilities, so that will take us about a year to do. And then that's why we have the anticipated start of construction in early 2027. So with that, I have given my overview, and then I will hand it to Mr. Baranowski and our design professionals to further comment.
Thank you, Ms. Erb. Are there any questions from the board for Ms. Erb before we bring in the next expert for testimony?
Excuse me, I apologize for the answer later. So the emergency department is staying in the same location?
That is correct.
So the only access to the emergency department now will be off Spout Spring because they're limited to Bank Avenue?
Yes.
Where the construction site, right, so Bank Avenue, so it's just South Avenue and Spout Spring. What's that?
And you will see on, and we can certainly comment further on our civil plans, the path in and out to maintain our traffic coming in and out of DED, as well as our ambulance bay traffic.
How long do you propose the project to take to build?
We expect that we will be finished building by the end of 2029.
And no effect on the operations at the hospital during that construction time? Are you moving people out to other hospitals or shutting down any services?
No, we will not be shutting down services. We do have some logistics planning we've been working on for over a year now with Turner Construction on logistics in and around that site. As you can see by our application, we have parking to build, we have utilities to relocate. There is a significant amount of site work that needs to occur. So we've met with our hospital leadership and others to talk through all the logistics planning and where folks would park, where employees would park, all of these sorts of things as we plan the project. But no, we will not be interrupting any services at the hospital at all. We will be building, we're not doing the renovations in the hospital, we're building to that northeast. We will have some impacts as we connect the building, but it will not be impacting patient care.
And I apologize, I'm not familiar, is Lot G currently there already, or?
Yes.
Lot G?
That's the satellite lot?
The satellite?
Yes, yes, it is there.
You
Yes.
said the shuttle will run from?
It does run there now, yes.
Run there now?
Yes.
Are there any other questions or comments from the board for Ms. Erb?
And then the Cedar Street location,
Yes.
just so I'm clear, that's just for office trailers
Yes,
only?
yes, and construction personnel and parking, yes.
Right, just for personnel, any
Yes.
construction materials, anything will be stored on the hospital side on 175 Madison or that area?
That's correct.
Yes,
Okay, yeah, 'cause I just know Cedar Street is narrow.
it is very narrow, yes.
Is there anything else? All right, Mr. Baranowski, please feel free to
Thank you, Ms. Hurd. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We can next call Mr. Vlad Volodymosov. As he comes up, before he gives his testimony, he'll give you his professional credentials, and we ask you to accept those.
Mr. Volodymosov has appeared before a number of boards that I've seen and been accepted as an expert in civil engineering and site design. He may have appeared before this board before, but he's appeared in front of like 4 boards that I've seen. So I think that he's acceptable to the board. He's very experienced. With that, do you swear or affirm he's been accepted? Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth before this board?
I do, and thank you, Mrs. Hardy.
Go right to work.
Thank you, Mrs. Hurd, for providing a very broad overview of the entire project. It makes my job easier. As she covered all the steps now, I just have to provide more of the technical items. Tonight, as a team, we'll demonstrate virtuous commitment in the grown in place and continuing investment in the Mount Holly through the expansion of the campus and improving the efficiency, circulation, as well as strengthening the infrastructure in place and promote pedestrian connectivity. If I want to bring the board's attention to the first exhibit that's also within the side is the existing site rendering. It shows the various virtual properties that Virtua has within the main campus, the 2 small pieces of property that they acquired that are not part of the application. Then you have the medical center, the west side of Madison Avenue, the 27-seater location of Plan North, as well as the satellite Lot G, which is the overflow parking. The main campus, Virtua campus, is comprised of 86 individual block and lots. Historically, it's been divided through vacated streets, including Stout Spring, which provides the access to the existing emergency department, as well as Greenwood Avenue and Bank Avenue. The entire campus right now is currently located in the Health and Life Science District, established through the Township's latest ordinance this summer, supporting the hospital and medical facilities in the small oriented pedestrian setting. For anybody that's not familiar with the site, the main campus itself is bounded by Madison Avenue, which is a county road, County Route 691 on the west side of the campus. Down by the south is very simple, South Avenue, which is also a county roadway, 683. Bounded on the east side is the Greenwood Avenue, and the north is the Township wooded property, which is also adjacent to the Rancocas Creek. The current main access points for the hospital and also will remain under the proposed condition is off of Madison Avenue with the one-way ingress and egress looped drop-off. The emergency department is off of Stout Spring Street, which is currently vacated along with the Greenwood Avenue and Bank Avenue, but will be reconfigured under the proposed condition. I'll describe it further. So overall, with the 3 different projects that we're going forward, is the major subdivision, the major and final site plan improvements for the main hospital and temporary lot 27. The project goal is to simplify the campus by consolidating those 86 fragmental lots into the 3 lots, the main overall campus, and then the 2 open spaces that are being bifurcated by the loop road that's separated and are in the environmental sensitive areas. So if I bring your attention to the hospital site plan rendering, I'm not sure which slide it is on there, but right up here is right in the front. The new construction has been pointed out by Mrs. Hurd is the blue shaded area, which is going to be a 4-story addition, a total of 137,000 square feet. Slide 7 if you have the sheet. With that expansion, it will provide, as mentioned, 64 new private inpatient beds. Will be the conversion of the semi-private beds in the existing hospital and moved over to the new expansion, along with the 10 new state-of-the-art operating rooms. Regarding the circulation improvements, there's a great number of improvements when it comes to transportation, especially the elimination of Bank and Stout Spring Avenue with the extension of Greenwood. This improves emergency access and the overall traffic circulation. Right now, today, emergency vehicles, I believe, only access the emergency department either from Madison, from Bank Avenue, or from South Avenue down to Stout Spring. Which now with the connector loop road, they'll be able to the emergency department access will now be maintained from either South Avenue or Madison Avenue through the Greenwood connection, so they're allowed to access at multiple points of access without having that confusion of a lot of dead-end streets. And also removes the dead-end streets that currently encourage cut-throughs and problematic on-street parking. As you see today, Bank Avenue, Greenwood Avenue, as well as Powell Spring, they're very narrow streets that actually don't conform to the township's ordinance requirements. You see a lot of on-street parking, so it really limits the ability. If cars are parked on both sides of the street, it's really becomes a one-way road, and it's difficult to have both flow through traffic. And then to capture the parking improvements, as shown today, is the improvement of Lot A for the physician and manager lot. And if you have the packet, it's the parking lot A, which will provide security parking for those positions as well as the managers, and provide increased parking if you can compare it to the existing site plan today. And also with the existing site plan, there is a lot of confusion. There's like a lot of one-ways and that come through Powell Spring and exit out through Greenwood Avenue, which will provide a better circulation on the proposed condition. There's also a large enhancement to the emergency drop-off. As you can see on the EV parking, you have now access from Greenwood Avenue. You're able to fully circulate, get much closer to the new emergency department, and have access to readily available parking spaces right there. And if those spaces fill up, you still have that secondary emergency parking lot E that's going to be adjacent to the proposed building expansion. And then we also know that Lot B, which is east of campus, there's no other improvements than landscaping to enhance the aesthetics of Jefferson Avenue as well as the neighboring property. And our landscape architect can go further just improvements, as well as Lot D, which is the medical center that's on the west side of Madison Avenue. And then the most importantly is the very large improvement to Lot C, which is the visitor parking. This is gonna bring visitors much closer to the main entrance, to the hospital, shortening the walking distance and improve accessibility for elderly and mobility challenged patients. As you can see, the significant ADA spaces that are proposed to the west side of the hospital addition as well as to the north side of the hospital addition. Talking about the net parking impact and how many spaces that we're proposing, the direct campus right now currently has 371 parking spaces on site, and we're improving that to 614 spaces. So that's the net of 243 spaces that we're gonna see. And then factoring the 80 on-street parking spaces that are currently there today, to get them off the streets, we still have a net increase of 163 spaces. So per the township's ordinance, the parking requirement for the overall campus, factoring the medical center, the hospital, the total hospital beds that are currently there today, as well as the increase of 22 beds that we're gonna see if virtua applies through licensure of the state, and the medical staff, the physicians, and anybody associated with the hospital during the peak hours. The required total number of spaces is 753. Directly on-site campus that's going to be provided under the proposed condition, factoring Lot A, which is the physician and the manager's parking, Lot E, which is the emergency department, Lot C, which is the new constructed visitor parking, and then you still have Lot D, which is the medical center that's adjoining, that's within the 120 feet of the main campus itself. And then also Lot D, you have a net parking of 1,113 spaces. And that's not factoring the satellite lot that also has 420 spaces. So that would bring a grand total of 1,533 spaces, which would more suffice the campus atmosphere for the growing demand of the hospital. Along with the parking improvements, we also conform to the New Jersey model ordinance, the EV spaces. Per the net increase of the 243 spaces, we are required to provide 10 EV spaces that are going to be scattered throughout the campus. We have 4 that's going to be located at the manager's lot. 2 have been relocated since the submission of the application to the emergency department, and there are going to be also accessible spaces. And then we have 4 located at the visitor lot. Dimensions of the parking spaces are 9 by 18. as well as 24-foot drive aisles, same size spaces that you see today, and also conform to the health and science zoning district. And then the big community benefit to that is the ample visitor parking, which eliminates the overflow into the neighboring streets as you see today on Bag Avenue and Spout Spring, as well as Greenwood Avenue, and improves both access and safety to the neighborhood. There's also a big benefit to the pedestrian and campus amenities. With the expansion of Greenwood Avenue and bring it to code per the township's ordinance, we're also providing sidewalks on both sides that promotes neighborhood walkability and connectivity between South Avenue and connecting it with Madison, and also providing direct access now walkability to the hospital where it doesn't exist today. We also provide the creation of the passive walking space around the large-scale bioretention basin that we have here, which provides the nice open space and wellness opportunities, not only for the patients and the staff that are there, but also inviting neighbors to take a stroll around the bioretention basin.
Vlad, before you move into utilities, I just wanted to see if you would emphasize for the board and for the community, what we're proposing for Greenwood Avenue is really a whole new reconfiguration and major improvement to Greenwood, right?
Absolutely, yeah, because right now, the Greenwood Avenue, I'm not too familiar with what the actual dimension is, but I know it doesn't conform to the township's 34-foot wide carway width, and with the parking on both sides, it really limits it and almost acts as a one-way street. And it's very confusing for anybody that's not familiar with this area, because they see that there's no one-way indication, and then they see all these parked cars, and they're like, well, how do I get around here?
And then in addition, we're creating all these new parking lots that are gonna take the cars that were previously parked on the street and get them onto the campus, right?
Exactly, and that's where that net benefit of 163 spaces is gonna come into play.
But to segue into your discussion about utilities, there are utilities in some of those existing roadways that have to be relocated and moved around. Right?
Exactly, and a big benefit is a lot of those utility improvements are outdated and are dead end and don't provide that connectivity with the rest of the neighborhood, especially with the improvements. We're gonna have a new water main system that's gonna loop from Greenwood Avenue down to Madison, as well as an internal loop system to provide better water pressure as well as water quality. Because with the removal of previous medical office that used to be there in buildings, now you have kind of inundated water and stagnant water that sits there without the routine flushing of the township and provided maintenance. Now you have the water quality effect where you need that routine flushing to be able to provide the needed water quality. With the loop system, now you always have constant flow of pressure and circulation of water and draw that eliminates that stagnant effect. In addition to the water improvements, there's also sanitary sewer improvements. Similar, it's an outdated system, so we're proposing a new extension from Greenwood Avenue to tie to Madison, and updating the line. I think the current line out there is a 10-inch, it's gonna be a 12-inch, so that provides additional flow and capacity for the adjoining neighbors. And then with some of the upgrades with the hospital is also, there's an upgrade with the oxygen farm tank that has been upsized to provide both for the existing hospital as well as the addition, new electric service yards. The electric service yards that provide power for the building expansion, as well as an underground fuel tank that's being provided for those emergency generators that's adequately sized to provide over 96 hours of emergency service in case of any power outages. Jumping over to the stormwater improvements, that's a huge benefit with this campus, because with Mount Holly being an old town that it is, the only type of stormwater management that exists today is the stormwater conveyance system that you see, which is just inlets and underground piping. With this revitalization of the project, we're proposing modern green infrastructure improvements. Some specifically, we have pervious pavement that's being provided on parking lot C as well as lot E. There's also a lot of green infrastructure improvements such as filtarianism. There's 19 that provide water quality benefits scattered throughout the campus. We're also proposing a small scale bioretention basin that's located on the east side of the Greenwood Avenue extension. And that's just also to promote water quality and groundwater recharge benefits for the expansion of Greenwood Avenue. And lastly is the large scale bioretention basin. While acting as a wonderful open space and passive rec area, it provides much water quality treatment as well as groundwater recharge, and provides the quantity and attenuation of the greater storms that's being generated from the site. And then lastly, I kind of just want to summarize the 21 Cedar project. I know Mr. Brownowski and Mrs. Herb did a wonderful job summarizing. This is just a temporary lot that's going to be used for logistic purposes for the constructions. We are proposing general contractor trailers as well as subcontractors and a paved parking lot that's going to be located in the back. There's a small scale infiltration basin that's being put into place to attenuate the additional runoff that's being generated from that proposed parking. But this is for just a temporary measure because this will allow general contractors to hold meetings and do the day-by-day tasks and get a game plan going for the main campus until all the workers transfer over to the main facility. And at the end of the construction phase, that entire lot will be restored, so that the proposed paved parking lot will be removed, restored the topsoil and seeded, as well as the construction trailers. Before I close off and hand it over to the traffic engineer, I kind of want to summarize a couple of the design waivers, and then I'll jump back into the variances after all the testimony has been provided. There's only one site design waiver that we're seeking for the Site A, which is the hospital. It was brought by attention by the board planner as well as the engineer from section 149-83D2, and to permit the required off-street parking located 120 feet from the property. As for I went through this testimony, we don't see that design waiver is required at this point because all the parking that's within the campus and then lot D and B that's located within the 120 feet provide the adequate parking. It's a total of 1,113 spaces. For Site B, which is 27 Cedar, we have a number of design waivers, only because it's an odd shaped lot and then it's also a temporary type of measure facility. We have section 149-83E1, which is an existing gravel lot where off-street parking is required to be paved. We asked that as a design waiver, there's no need to pave that area. That would generate an increase in stormwater runoff, especially since this is a temporary site condition. Also, from section 149-83E8 is provide curb and wheel stops along sidewalks and landscape areas. I had a discussion with your board engineer. It's almost open for interpretation because it mentions against parking areas, so we're not sure if the existing drive aisles are considered as a parking area, but we are providing concrete wheel stops along all the parking spaces as well as where the sidewalks are, sidewalks and against the adjacent landscape areas. But we'll just ask the board for that waiver just in case the interpretation of the wording from the ordinance deviates otherwise. And also section 149-83.1D2B is to provide the minimum of 2 EV spaces for parking spaces between 51 and 75. We request a design waiver on that, especially since this is a temporary lot and all those paved parking spaces will be removed at the end of construction. There's, I think, 2 lighting variances as well as some landscaping, I'm sorry, not variances, design waivers and landscaping, but I will let Anthony Cortese from HDR address those.
And
Mr. Ask you one question. Sure. On your parking calculation, did you take into account those buildings on the opposite side of Madison Avenue?
The medical facility?
Yeah.
Yes. Yep, it breaks it down. I don't have the parking count on me, but if you look at the parking requirement table on sheet 2 of the site plans, it says medical center and it shows the number of square feet.
Do you have any valet parking?
Valet parking? No valet parking.
anticipate a lot of pedestrian traffic from the staging area to the construction site?
I'll let, Steve, Steve Lurie comment on that, but I believe, I don't wanna speak on it, but I think all the workers and general contractors are gonna meet at that facility, have a meeting, and then either drive over to the main facility or get shuttles over to there.
And one question, did you say paved parking or paved parking?
Paved parking for 27-seater?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, paved parking.
Okay, not paved.
Yep. Thank you.
And I had mentioned at the outset, Mr. Colomasa had issued a response letter from September 12th to your board planner's letter. I guess we can hear from Mr. Kalani if you were satisfied with the response.
A couple of questions.
Okay.
So one of the comments I had along Greenwood Ave, it's kind of a long stretch, so I recommended some traffic calming. A lot of people use indoor blend, it's sort of like a traffic surfacing. And I think what you're proposing is to crosswalks and crosswalk signage in lieu of that.
Yeah, exactly. Just because this is a virtual campus and they kind of want to have a feel and pretty much consistency with all their other sites. So, and also I just want to emphasize that Green Avenue is going to be dedicated to the township. So it providing those type of measures such as endurable, which could be costly, would fall under the township's obligation to maintain those things. So we feel with the number of crosswalks that are being proposed, as well as the signage, encourage that traffic calming visual aspects. Also, Green Avenue has the bends in the road that also provide that visual aid of traffic calming. And also there's a series of entrances and exits along for the various parking spaces. So that itself provides that visual traffic calming measure to be aware of the vehicles coming in and out of the facility.
Okay, and that oil tank, could you discuss that? It's adjacent to Greenwood Avenue.
Sure, yeah, so it's the optimal location that's gonna be fed into the mechanical room that's located, I wanna say, northeast of that corner. So the underground piping will go underneath and then it will be tied underneath the bridge and then go back underground to that east corner. It's not optimal to provide it anywhere on site. Well, it is still on site, but on site underneath paved areas, for instance, for the emergency department parking as well as the visitor lot, because it would now hinder the traffic aspect of the site, especially when it comes to refueling that area.
So you don't anticipate any conflicts with people coming in along Greenwood Avenue?
No, because the sidewalk is set back pretty far from that.
So it'll be definitely off the road?
Yes.
What kind of, like when those are gonna show up, how often, times of day?
It really depends on the timing of when that needs to happen, because the fuel that's being.
So it's once or twice a year, we run the generator.
You have to go over to-
Sorry, my apologies. So we run the generator for regular generator testing as required. So it's 1 to 2 times per year, that we need to refill the generator. Now, if we have an inordinate amount of power outage, it would vary, of course, but, we're not talking about a lot of traffic for that, no.
Good. Thank you. And the Ridge Avenue satellite, can you just basically, you said you were gonna look at the fence, I mean, it's in pretty bad shape, the fencing along the front there, and the gates are kind of in bad
Yes,
shape.
I can address that. So I agree with you, we will take care of the fence, we do want to replace it in kind. We like having visibility into that lot, we don't want to create any security issues with not having visibility, that's why we would want to replace it in kind and just put a new fence in. I had talked to our director of security, he does not want to see landscaping around the parking lot because then it obstructs view. And, you know, certainly it's a concern because we mainly have our employees that are, you know, early morning, later at night, that sort of thing, using that lot.
So there's a bus stop inside, right?
Yes.
Right inside there, what's the lighting like?
We are gonna be looking at the lighting as well. When we, the long-term care facility had an application just a short time ago, we were asked to look at the lighting in that parking lot. I believe that was in their review letter. We have hired TWT, to look at that lighting, to make sure it is compliant. Yes, and I will point out, and I believe that it was called out in, Mr. Shropshire's report as well. There are, approximately 60 parking spaces that are part of an easement with that long-term care. So that has been factored into our overall parking count. I don't think they're using the 60
You're gonna give us
spaces.
a plan for the lighting in that parking lot?
Excuse me?
You're gonna give us a plan for the lighting in that
Yes,
parking lot?
it is being evaluated. TWT is looking at what the foot candles are in that lot to understand what we would need to do in that parking lot. And I believe, we did submit a letter attesting to that we were going to be doing that. So we've already engaged TWT as a separate scope of work to look at that.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you. Do you want to go into conversation?
Oh, yeah.
Response to Rick's letter.
So I did have the opportunity to discuss and go over the comments made by your board engineer. We're pretty much we're agreeing to all the comments that are listed in there. We had talked over a number of items that are going to have to be submitted as part of conditional approval. I know Mr. Lima had some concern about the spillage that could happen with the underground tanking, and just make sure that it wasn't directed into the bioretention basin. We have agreed to provide a small containment area within that for any small spillages that could happen, and kind of regrade it to pitch it towards the street rather than to the actual basin itself.
So, for the board that, as he said, we did have a conversation this afternoon, went through my letter, we didn't go through everything, he basically said he agreed to address everything in my letter, went through a couple of points where, I needed some clarification. One was comment 39 about the 15.8 foot wide driveway. So they're going to provide us with turning movements, vehicle movements to show that driveway will work. It's an existing driveway, as everybody kind of probably knows. That addresses that as far as I'm concerned.
And just to help the board, what Mr. Lima is referring to is the parking lot F, which is provides service to the wound MRI care center. Under the existing condition, that parking lot actually encroaches into the county South Avenue roadway. Through the application process and the conditional approval that we received from the county had asked us and sketched up a design to move that parking off the county roadway in line with the right of way. And that's one of the variances that I will discuss at closing of this application. But they have provided that sketch. They have done a turning movement analysis, and I will provide that to your board engineer for review.
So we asked you to provide testimony, and I'm not sure I heard it out, all these different parking lots. I guess it's kind of obvious you got a physician's parking lot, that's for physicians. Manager parking, what is manager parking? I guess there's a ED parking is for the emergency department, and that's 2 parking lots, including E, and then this other lot. I'm not sure who will
I think
address that.
we could have Mr. Shropshire address that in further
Okay.
detail. Ms. Herb can also comment.
Well, yeah, I think Mr. Shropshire could as well. So, we do have, on the east side of the hospital, we have physician and manager parking. We also have our emergency department parking. This project further enhances our emergency department parking, which is also a very significant benefit to the project. We do need some more parking in that particular area, dependent on volume. So this will enhance that particular area east of the facility as well.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Thank you.
Lighting, we had asked that you look into a warmer color, 3,000K.
Well-
Do you agree to that, or?
Mr. Peters will take care of that.
Okay,
Mr. Cortez, yeah, Cortese. Yes.
Someone else is gonna address the phase one comments?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not gonna bore the board with my numerous stormwater comments, they agreed to address them, and so, we'll be part of compliance. Yeah, that's about all I got, really.
I think as we go
There's
through.
some other comments, which I said, I do want the testimony on
Yeah,
phase
yes.
one, the lighting, traffic.
We agree, we'll address those in short order. Thank you, Mr. Koldomasoff. As promised, we'll have our traffic and parking expert come up next to address some of those questions that were called out for providing testimony. There he is, right sneaking up on me, am I right? Mr. Shropshire, will you would mind please starting by presenting your qualifications?
So, sorry to cut you off. Mr. Shropshire has been accepted by this board and several other boards that I've seen in the last year or so as an expert in engineering and traffic analysis and site traffic planning. So I believe he would be acceptable as an engineer before this board. The chairperson is shaking his, nodding his head affirmatively. So, sorry to cut you off there. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth before this board?
I do.
Mr. Shropshire, you want to go through your reports and any of the exhibits you'd like to reference, just tell us what you need and we'll pull that
Sure.
up.
I'm gonna try to briefly summarize the report and at the same time answer the 5 questions related to traffic that Mr. Limo had in his review letter. We had to get base information for our traffic assessment. And what we did was we counted every intersection and driveway along Madison between Richmond and Cedar. And we counted every intersection along South between Madison and Jefferson. So that gave us kind of all the hospital activity and also all the street activity, the intersecting street activity, to do our assessment. So we conducted those traffic counts during typical weekdays and conducted them during the peak times and consolidated them into peak hours in the morning and peak hours in the afternoon so that we could do our assessment of what's going to happen in the future. With regard to what's going to happen in the future, the expansion based on the Institute of Transportation Engineers trip generation manual for hospitals, which they have plenty of data with regard to hospitals. For the size of the hospital expansion that we're talking about, the projected trip generation during the morning peak hour will be an additional 112 trips. During the afternoon peak hour, an additional 118 trips. In and of itself, that may sound like a large volume, but once you start to spread that traffic to and from the north on Madison, to and from the south on Madison, to and from the east on South, that traffic distributes within the system just based on not only the campus, but where the accesses are being proposed with the modifications to the circulation plan and the parking areas.
Excuse me, sir, I'm sorry to interrupt, but Gina, please note that Board Woman Saucier had to leave at 7:47. Sorry for the interruption.
We still are able to proceed.
You still have a quorum?
Exactly. I just wanted it on the record. Apology for the interruption. Please continue.
Hopefully it wasn't because it was boring. And what we do with that traffic is we distribute that traffic around the system. And we also project what might happen future condition-wise traffic growth in the area. So we have increases in background traffic overlay the projected new traffic from the expansion. And we go back and reanalyze each one of the intersections. And I think one of the questions that was raised by Mr. Limo was levels of service at intersections. We're at a level service C or better for every movement at every intersection. So it's either an A, B, or C. The worst case condition under level service C is an average of 35 seconds per vehicle of delay. So it's not a lot of delay. Level service C is generally accepted, not only in all the jurisdictions we work, but the county has jurisdiction over both Madison and South, and that is well within their criteria for an acceptable level of service. With those levels of service, with that increase in traffic that we're talking about, obviously all this was submitted to the county to review how this is gonna work from an intersection and circulation standpoint. And the county had two main traffic comments related to our work. And one of those comments was to try and improve the pedestrian design at the signalized intersection of Madison and South. And so we have provided those plans to the county. I think as you saw in the where things stand, we have a conditional approval from the county, and they are reviewing that traffic signal plan as we speak. So that was one thing. The second thing was at the intersection of Cedar and the extension of Greenwood, they requested a bypass lane. As you are probably aware, Madison has a bypass lane in front of the hospital today, and in effect, they just asked for that to be expanded up north to go beyond Cedar. And in effect, what that will allow is for the left turn movements going into Cedar, left turn movements going into Greenwood to be bypassed now by through traffic. So that design has also been submitted to the county and is under review right now. And just to give you the picture, it basically is a continuation of what happens in front of the hospital, just extended to Cedar. So that's kind of a brief synopsis of the traffic study. I do have to confirm, from my opinion, from a traffic perspective, the circulation system is vastly improved with this. All the things that Vlad testified to with regard to how this is going to function in the future with the circulation patterns, and also with eliminating on-street parking, with providing new off-street parking that supplements that and increases that. The plan in and of itself is a very, very good plan from a traffic perspective, and a great improvement over what is out there today. And I think the last comment with regard to my testimony has to do with parking. We've gone out a number of times to do an overall parking demand assessment of the campus. And that means counting every parked car in all of the lots that you see on the site plan, counting the on-street parking, and trying to come up with an overall number so we know what the quote demand is, the peak demand. And our report summarized that the peak demand that we saw was 986 vehicles within all of the parking areas and the on-street parking. We then had to take a look at what we would project the peak demand to be from the new expansion, because that's the existing demand. And what we did was we took the existing square footage of the hospital and the medical center across the street and did a ratio of those 986 vehicles to the square footage to come up with a ratio that we could apply to this expanded square footage. And when we did that, we found that the projected peak demand for the new expansion would be 258 parking spaces. When you do the math there between 986 and 258, do the addition, we're talking about 1,244 vehicles being demanded at the peak of the peak. You've already heard testimony with regard to the overall campus parking being at 1,533 parking spaces with what's being increased. And so we have, again, more than enough parking spaces out there to satisfy the peak demand. We're close to 300 spaces more than we actually need out there. But obviously that includes the satellite parking, which is fairly underutilized and will continue to be fairly underutilized based on the proximity of all the new parking that's being provided. So that gives you a brief summary of what's in our traffic and parking assessment, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions from the board's professionals?
Yes, Ms. Bailey. What's your analysis and projection during the actual construction phase for parking? Because you're talking a period of a couple of years, correct?
Correct.
From beginning to end, and then you add all the construction employees. I know that there are already some parking wars on Spout Spring on the other side of South Ave that extend into the neighboring township. With the new construction, is that gonna displace parking, current parking, and then you're gonna have construction people wanting to park there as well? That's my only concern. The end plan, I do very well.
My opinion is between the satellite, the site B on Cedar that's being provided with 63 parking spaces, and the excess parking that's available, in the Ridge Avenue lot, there's more than sufficient parking to accommodate any construction demand. And with that shuttle system running, I mean, it's really a benefit in that you do have a way to not only accommodate those construction vehicles, but also get them to and from the site.
So the construction employees are gonna park down the satellite lot?
Yeah, and I can have, Mr. Malloy will address how the logistics will go during
Yeah.
construction as well.
I mean, I know, like you say, that, yes, there are enough spots, but they're way down Ridge Avenue, and you know, human nature is people are last minute, and they want.
So picking up on the issue of the parking, this isn't in our letter, but I'm just thinking to myself. You have a demand right now of 986 spaces, right? You're gonna be demoing out the parking lots and redoing the parking lots and redoing the streets. You're gonna lose a lot of parking during construction. Now, the building's not gonna be open yet, but you're still gonna need 986 spaces, correct?
Well, I'm gonna defer in terms of how that's gonna be accommodated.
Yeah, so I think we need a phasing plan, for the parking and how you're gonna maintain that parking through construction.
Well, and also if you look at the current supply of parking right now,
Yeah.
there's in excess of
Okay,
300
fine,
spaces
but
today.
just, I think I would like to have a phasing plan put together showing us how you're gonna maintain that parking.
Sure, we can do that. Mr. Malloy will speak to that. We're happy to provide that for you.
Okay.
Is there any plan to, perhaps have permit parking only for residents that live just past Cedar Street, on Madison, maybe to protect their parking if there's, to avoid employees parking there or contractors parking?
That's typically a township, function.
Okay.
Right, yeah.
One suggestion, kind of piggybacking on his idea, is can Virtua make their staff park in the satellite lot?
Yeah, yes. Mr. Sir, speak.
So,
Because that would move them into your own property and make them deal with the commute from the lot
yes.
to the employment place rather than, visitors, people who are trying to see sick people get to the emergency room, so.
Yes, and certainly that is our primary concern, are our patients and visitors. So I do want to defer to Mr. Malloy with Turner Construction because he can talk through the phasing of the project most appropriately. What I can tell you is we have been working on our entirety of the phasing of this, as I mentioned earlier this evening, for over a year, and how we're going to do this, because our primary goal is to make sure we don't impact our patients and visitors. Certainly that's our goal because they are our patients and visitors. So we do have a plan in place to enforce the employees to park in that satellite lot. That is why we run the shuttles today.
Yeah.
And, you know, we do need to enforce that at a greater level, which is certainly the plan of the hospital administration to do so.
Which would be appreciated. I have personal knowledge that a lot of the parking complaints around that general area, South Spring, turn out to be staff members who are parked there.
Understood.
No parking there. If they could make their employees park.
Understood, thank you.
So I'm gonna bring up Greenwood Avenue. I think it looks really beautiful and right out here. I like the way that it is. I know you talked about things like nice, crosswalks and signage that's gonna be on there. But truth be told, this is gonna be a bypass of the hospital coming of South Avenue going to Madison. What other calming abilities do you have in mind to implement on that road to kind of reduce that ability? And it can't be like, oh, the speed limit might be 25, be 35, you know, the parks entrances in and out, and give the interpretation that someone might come out, so it should calm people driving. They're still gonna drive very fast to the bypass the hospital. So what can we do to make sure that someone's not gonna speed down Greenwood just to get on the right Madison?
Yeah, what we have found professionally and what I found personally, even when I was circulating around the hospital today, is that motorists are getting way more sensitive, especially with enforcement, to those signage and even sometimes the pedestrian signs that are right where the crosswalks are. You have to yield, and then Title 39 enforcement, or in this case, with a municipal street, enforcement of that. Unfortunately, with regard to traffic, sometimes we end up with capacity issues because the vehicles are now deferring to pedestrians. Pedestrians have the right of way as opposed to the vehicle, and therefore that creates delays in systems that we have to account for. So there's a certain psychological and actual shifting that's going on with regard to low-speed roads that are signed with pedestrian crossing, that are enforced for the yield to any pedestrian in there. And we found it to be incredibly effective in most situations where you have a 25 mile an hour. So I think that's really an effective way to do what you're concerned about.
And, the crosswalks, are they coupled with stop signs or just flashing crosswalks?
It would be yield to pedestrian signs, no flashing, and then obviously the painted crosswalk. And there you got, no, there would be stop signs on cross intersections, yes.
You'd have to get some type of county or DOT approval for us, some type of higher level approval for a stop sign, and that's not really gonna happen.
Greenwood would be a municipal road, right,
Right.
so they go through the municipality to create a
Yeah.
stop sign there, somewhere
Yeah.
along that
You
route.
do the ordinance for that, but
Yeah, you could create a stop sign after some Greenwood, by ordinance, the township can do that, so they don't have to seek county approval for a stop sign. If you wanted to put a stop sign along the route, you don't need one Greenwood somewhere to slow around that cut through, that's.
I know, you can go back to that. Yeah. It does make a difference in the crosswalks.
Right, well, that's what I'm saying, you incorporate a stop sign and municipality, would have municipality do that, correct?
Yeah. Another thing that's a possibility as this moves forward, if it becomes a discernible issue and you have those signs that show you your speed that you're driving as you go toward them, I think that's another thing. You know, we could always coordinate with the township to look at that, utilizing that type of mechanism if there's perceived to be an issue. But I think the issues, the measures that Mr. Shropshire talked about already have proven to be, effective in this type of application.
So you said that would deter people from doing that?
I don't think it's gonna deter anybody who wants to use the municipal street to get from south to Madison or get from Madison to south. Those won't deter, but what that will do is make somebody stop if they see a pedestrian. That's the psychology that's going on now in terms of the driver pedestrian interaction.
So I'm just gonna bring up an example, and this is one example. I live in the town of Mile, and there is a crosswalk in Unitary. There is a crosswalk, a very common place, over at our lovely 7-Eleven downtown, with signs that you're supposed to yield. Nobody stops for anybody over there. I stopped today, and the oncoming traffic flew right through with almost the person crossing it. And this is a short turn downtown. Now we're building a brand new road that is going to be a bypass. So I'm bringing this up under concern. I know for certain somebody is going to get hit on that road with all the parking around there, with people speeding there. And I know you're the professional, but I do not think that someone is going to use the entranceways or the crosswalk visibility or the signs to say, hey, somebody might cross this road as a means to slow down. That's just my personal opinion over there.
Yeah, and, we actually have done, some hospitals have done on-site surveys with regard to how, within parking lots, how this is effective. And it's dramatically effective. So, I understand where your concern is, and I think, again, with the low-speed roads, with the low volume, because the only volume on there is the hospital and then whoever might want to cut through. So that's who we're dealing with. It's gonna be local people and employees and staff of the hospital. So there's kind of like a population that you have that's somewhat controlled also.
Okay. Voice making, thank you. The bends in the road will happen. You got two bends in the road, that slows people down.
You hold it for 2 minutes. Oh.
And you're slowing down, I'm just saying.
You can't sort of speed humps or anything like that, you got emergency services that come through, we don't want to slow anybody down.
I didn't mention, yes, speed bumps and stuff, but, the speed, the fake out speed cameras might help with the numbers that are on there. give someone the impression that someone's watching you. They're going,
So with emergency vehicles, and then, at what point on the site plan would any emergency vehicles, like ambulances, come into the emergency room? Obviously, would they come in off of Scout Spring, can they come in off of Greenwood?
Yes.
Still, at what point were they going to the emergency room? Is that between the manager parking and the ED parking?
Yeah, I'm gonna defer only because I don't want to.
Okay, yeah, fair.
I know that there is accessibility for both ways, but I don't know if Julie wants to answer that for Platt.
and I'm just bringing up again as need of warning on what I kind of foresee happening over here. I don't want to negate the fact that this is a really good presentation, and I like the extension of how this is going. I think it'll be great for the area over there. But again, I just want to stress, you know, you brought up maybe those, like you said, the blinking signs that are out there that tell you how fast you're driving. That sometimes gets the attention of the driver more than a pedestrian crossing sign or a yield sign, because it's right there in your face, you see how fast you're going. And, you know, I can't say if we're always gonna have a municipal officer there waiting to get someone to pull them over if they're going too fast, but at least it'll give the interpretation that someone's there watching, just like we have on High Street and other areas that we put into place.
Yeah, you know, my thinking on this would be if for some reason there's an issue, that might be the next step. But one of the interesting things about this extension is it's somewhat difficult to really get up a lot of speed. And in essence, it's not a long stretch of roadway. So typically those signs, we would use them on something that's straighter and longer, where you can actually get up to speed, or it's a connected, 3-mile stretch of street where you wanna stop or slow people down, mid-block somewhere. So anyway, I understand what your concern is, and for some reason, things are not as we believe they're going to be based on the design of this. There's additional things that could be done in the future.
Mr. Shropshire, I have a question. Are Greenwood Avenue and the other portions of the lot that are going to be included in this project, including the parallel sidewalks, are you planning on repaving those as part of this project?
I'm gonna defer.
Yes, we are repaving some areas. We're not repaving all areas. We are gonna assess what needs to be repaved. But the goal is we want to improve the overall look of the campus.
I happen to walk there a lot, and there are portions that definitely need it, so
Yes.
I think that would be a welcome improvement for both aesthetics and safety.
Noted. Thank you.
Okay, is there anything else, Mr. Shropshire?
Anything else from the board or its professionals? Okay, seeing none, thank you, Mr. Shropshire.
Thank